Alright, let's do this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 3, the 2000 season of our Let's Play of Grand Prix World. We have many things to be working on. First of all, let's hit the design office. I don't think we really want 75% of our guys working on an active suspension system right now. I think we're going to do a 80-20 split and begin work immediately on next year's car. It's worked for us in the past. I think it will work for us again. Of course, we could get unlucky and see that the regulations change significantly. But for the moment, I think that's the right move to make. If I remember correctly, we have 3 cars already. So, yes, we do. But we have some upgrades to deploy. So we're going to put the driver aid out, and we're going to churn out some spare parts. And we want these cars in the best condition possible. Let's take a look at where we're at here. So we're on the 2000 01A spec of the Ferrari V10. Much more powerful than we've had previously, although the responsiveness is a little bit lacking. It's quite a light engine, which will impact rigidity, but of course rigidity itself is sort of in the mid-range, which is fine. Although it's not particularly fuel efficient, which means we're going to be loaded quite heavily at the start of the race. The hard and soft compounds of the Bridgestone look pretty good. I think the soft compound is actually the weaker element here. Although for round 1 we will be running Deniz on the softer compound because it was working for us previously, and the fuel is exactly where we thought it would be. So the fuel is kind of the weak point here, but I don't think it's necessarily something we should worry about. Our CAD and CAM facilities are holding up at level 5, so technology hasn't moved on significantly in the off-season. Let's take a look at our testing program. This is a chance as well to show you how research and development works for the tyres and the engine, since we have the ability to do a lot of testing now. I'm going to do as much testing as possible. That's going to cost us nearly $1 million. It's going to put a lot of wear on the cars as well, but we've got a lot of work to do. So we're going to go... only put 2% of our guys on tyres and 3 over there. This is where it gets kind of difficult. Deniz is going to go 70 on setup with Nakano 60 on setup. 20, 10 and 10. 10, 10 and 10. Tyre testing we'll leave entirely to Carl. What we really want to focus on though is the engine specifically. Hopefully that's enough to get through what we need to do. We'll put some more engine testing on for Deniz as well. I know he won't like it, but the more points we can get, the better the situation for us. Let's punch that. Okay, so we have 4 points to spend on the engine, only 1 on the tyres so far, and the development testing didn't go as well as we would have liked. Again though, we don't have a research and development car or a testing rig, so you know, we did well considering. We haven't discovered exactly what's causing the issues with our cars, although bad news, we have only 60% handling, which means that we were hit by having a much poorer designer in charge of the design team. That means the car is not as great as perhaps we hoped, but with an aggressive development program, I think we can probably get it reasonably competitive in the mid to late season, although it does mean the chances of us being in a strong position out of the gate are probably quite low. I'm guessing this should give us 1 or maybe 2 development points to spend on our engine, so I'm going to do that first of all, and we get 1 point. I'm going to put that on fuel economy, And what that creates is the Ferrari V10 2000 Aero Specification 02A. And that is unique to us. Jordan will not get or ever get that specification of engine. That is unique. Over here, what we could do, if we had a few more points, is hit this button and take points off any one of these categories and redistribute them in a way that's more pleasing for us. Let's repair the cars. And then we'll move on and take a look at our technology situation. So same as last year, what we have is a situation where reliability isn't great, although general performance is pretty good. It's very hard to read where this season's car is going to be. I'm not going to look at the technology situation in much more detail at this time. I think the stats we've got here are enough for the moment. The cars are repaired. Now, I haven't given you much time to, or any time at all, to talk about engines, so what I'm going to do is straight out of the gate. This is a really important deal for us. I'm going to stick 35% of our guys on talking to Red Bull. And instead, I'll work on a big money deal and tyres initially, and we'll bring an engine supplier along to round 2 onwards. Still a good time to sell shares in the team, but I don't think it's necessary just yet. We should have more money coming in per race than before, and we were profitable then. So let's take a look at the fuel specs and see what fuel supplier we want. Yeah, I really don't know here. I really don't know. Let's see if there's any news, see if any suppliers are entering the spot. Oh, it seems that Olivier Panis is knocking around still. That's interesting, and we've confirmed how much money we should get from our Concord agreement cash. We've got no drivers to replace, although there is the option. I'm going to strengthen the commercial team. So that means making some firings, unfortunately, in the design office as well. We might lose a star worker, but I think it's probably worthwhile. Can we do anything here? No, not at this time. Our backup targets are these two. Although we really want a 4 or a 5 if we can land it. In the design office, what we're seeing now is how we're being held back by Mike Gascoigne's limited talents. So what we want really is to grab either Neil Oatley or Rory Byrne. It's going to cost us. It's going to cost us significantly, but hopefully the Red Bull cash makes the difference. I'm going to tender a significant offer to him. That's a significant amount of our budget. It is, but it could make all the difference. And he's agreed to sign. He has agreed to sign. I know I said I'd consult with you on any big decisions, but you know what? We're grabbing him because that opportunity will not present itself again. It just won't. That means we have to budget for the fact that the most expensive member of staff is going to be the designer, and he's going to be on over 4 million a season. It's only a 1-season deal, but I genuinely believe that was the smart move to make. So when the opportunity presented itself, I grabbed it. John Barnard didn't agree to join us. Pat Simmons is a bit rich for our blood, really. I'm very disappointed that Harvey is not available. So we're looking for a 1-season deal so we can pick up Harvey next season, I think. We could take Adrian Newey for a season, but 5.8 million, it's probably talking 6.2 to 6.4 before he'd even think of signing for us. We have to make much more aggressive bids. You're probably thinking he's just clicking arbitrarily when making offers. That's genuinely not the case. If we were a serious contender, I'd probably offer a very modest increase, maybe only 1 or 2 clicks, and consider that a reasonable offer. But the team, no matter how big the strides we've made, the team is not considered particularly competitive, and that means people are not going to sign for us very often, or for particularly favourable deals. I think our best bet here is going to be Carl Gaden. We could continue with Tim Edwards and save a bit of money. It's a good $500,000. He is a 4-star. He could potentially go up to 5, but we've no way of knowing. So I really don't know. We'll probably come back to that later. So back to sponsors. My train of thought got significantly derailed there. Let's take a look at the tyres available. I think Bridgestone probably makes the most sense. Unless you guys have any objection, I'm going to resume discussions with Bridgestone. I'm going to put 30% working on that deal. And as for money, let's see how our relationships are. We have a good relationship with PIAA actually. Invite Red Bull, Bridgestone, and we'll bring PIAA and we'll try and get them to sign again. Maybe we get a multi-year deal out of them. HSBC or Petronas would also be good options, I think. So what I'll do, I'll put 20% here, and I'll put 10 on HSBC and see what kind of terms we can get. I'm not talking to a fuel supplier just yet. I'll see what you guys feel. It's a binary decision on tyres at the moment, and Bridgestone is the clearer, better option, so that's what we'll be doing there. This is all set up, so I think we are ready to make a dive into the race. Just a moment, let me save the game and we'll proceed. Welcome back, kids. So we're going to keep the drivers on this level of push, especially because the car is actually arguably a little bit weaker. We don't really want them pushing too hard. We want to finish the race if possible. I'm going to set Deniz's car up for cooling, speed, downforce and brakes. Nakano I'm going to set up for more speed, downforce, brakes, and anything else. I'll put one on cooling for him. We don't want him to have an engine failure. Let's put the driver aids on. So we've got something in every box now, which is definitely a good thing for us. I'm going to run Deniz on the soft compound tyre and keep Shinji on the harder. Everything's fine here. By my count, it's time to run it. My neighbours are playing music again, so sorry if you can hear that. If you can't hear it now, you will hear it when I get this new microphone, so I'm going to have to come up with some sort of solution for that. Let's have a run down the concurrence list. Schumacher partners Eddie Irvine at Williams, Coulthard and Johnny Newhouse stay at McLaren. Ferraris, Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Rubens Barrichello. Jean Lacey and Alexander Wurz team up at Jordan. Deniz and Nakano stay at Arrows, of course. Fisichella and Herbert at Sauber. Hakkinen and Marini at Prost. Prost really need to take a step forward this season. Damon Hill and Esteban Tuero team up at Benetton. Mika Salo and Jan Magnussen team up at Minardi. That's another team I need to see take a step forward, I think. Stewart, I can't see them making any big leap, but it's possible. And Tyrrell, depending on how far Juan Pablo Montoya has come along, we could maybe see them step forward a little bit. It's 25 degrees, very strong wind, but also very dry. Let's hit the track, kids. Okay, so first things first, Deniz straight out. straight out. We need to get a feel for how this car handles. Sorry, I'll get Nakano out as well. And there's also a Sauber out on track at the moment. This is just a banker. This is just a banker. It could rain later in the session. It does appear cloudy. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep track here. So yeah, both Saubers, both arrows out on track. So obviously we're both very keen to find out where we are. We are telling Deniz to slow down, which I hope is the reason that Sauber is gaining on him so aggressively. But it could just be they have a superior car this year. I've been waiting for them to show us the progress that they potentially have. And we've got a Tyrrell out as well, both Tyrrells. So both Montoya and Takagi have hit the track early as well for a banker. The Sauber goes through and told Deniz to get his boot down. I think it could be the Saubers are ahead of us. We've also got Minardi out on track. It's good news. And that appears to be a Williams, who's arguably going to interfere with Nakano's lap. I'm worried Deniz's lap is already compromised because he's right on the tail of that Sauber. A bit of brake dust there. Yeah, Deniz's lap is almost certainly compromised, so we're not going to see a true picture of his performance at least, although Nakano has got a fairly clean run, as long as that Williams doesn't catch up and interfere. Both Tyrrells are now on their hot lap, and the Ferraris have come out on their out laps. Okay, we're ready for Deniz to lay down his time. I think the Sauber is going to take provisional pole. Oh no, I read that wrong. Pedro Deniz on a 135.584 is close. Shinji Nakano puts in a 132.641, so that hard compound tyre is really working for him. That is a massive difference. That's not just a massive difference, it's a concerning level of difference. I don't know what's happened to Deniz. I don't know if he dislikes this car. Maybe he's got an issue. We'll take a look when he's back in the garage. But something isn't right. I don't think the impeding that we saw from the Sauber would explain the full range of that difference. Toranosuke Takagi crosses the line on a 137.318. Not great times from either Tyrrell, in the high 136s to the mid 137s. Both cars coming back to the pits now. The Minardi, Magnussen splits our cars. That's a 133.649. I don't know what Minardi have done, but that's definitely a step in the right direction. Michael Schumacher's Williams takes third on a 135.411. I don't know if that means the Williams is bad, or he had a bad lap, or what, but Heinz-Harald Frentzen takes provisional pole. Both Ferraris go top, 131.544 and a 132.127 for Barrichello and Frentzen respectively. That's very competitive. That's a very competitive time. Our cars are in the garage, so let's take a look as the McLarens and Benettons come out for their first laps. There is no problem on his car. No problem at all. I don't know if we should get our guys out again already while there's a somewhat clear track. Magnussen almost span it there coming back into the pits, which is interesting. The Prosts are also beginning to show their hands now. Yeah, I'm going to put both our cars out again. They're going to be running close together. In fact, I've just made a terrible mistake because Nakano is faster and I've put him out behind Deniz. That is bad news bears. I'll get Nakano to speed up and hopefully that gets him past Deniz in time for them to cross the line. I should never run them nose to tail that way. I'm very keen to see where the Prosts come out in this, and I'm very keen to see Minardi build on what has obviously been a very productive pre-season for them. That 133.649, it's a good second behind Nakano's arrows, but it is in the ballpark. There's a decent gap now between our cars. I'm happy to tell Deniz to start putting his boot down, and we should, provided no dickhead comes out of the pits now, get a decent run on our fast laps. There is a Stewart ahead of us, which could prove problematic. Damon Hill's Benetton takes second, and Esteban Tuero fourth. So Benetton are still at the sharp end of the grid, as is David Coulthard's McLaren. This is very hard to read, I'll be honest with you. You can probably tell from the poor nature of the commentary, but it's very hard to read where we are right now. I don't trust the readout at the moment, as Shinji Nakano comes in a little hot to turn 7 there, and that's probably cost him a little bit of time. Nakano is faster, I think we can see that. Mika Hakkinen puts his Prost on 7th, so it's Deniz who's really lacking here. He really needs to improve. The car's obviously capable of it. No improvement for Nakano, but Deniz puts it on 3rd. That's a bit more like it. That is a bit more like it. Deniz puts in a 1:31.828, which is enough for provisionally 3rd, although it is very, very tight, the gap between him and Coulthard, although it is comfortably ahead of Heinz-Harald Frenzen's Ferrari. The Williams don't seem to have put in particularly encouraging times. Let's take a look down the order at the moment. 14 drivers have posted times so far. Where is the Stewart? Oh, it's coming to cross the line now. Ricardo Rosset puts his Stewart on 6th. This is a crazy mixed up grid, but it was a crazy mixed up pre-season, and we were not really sure how to read it. And I think that reality is being put on full display for us now. I mean, I think it's very safe to say that the Ferraris and Benettons are definitely at the sharp end of the grid. The McLarens perhaps a little bit harder to read. Jordan are coming out now. Jordan are running the same spec engine as us for this round at least, so what we have with them is a fairly fair comparison. They have much more experienced drivers with much higher skill set, so if we beat them entirely on the quality of our chassis. I would say I doubt our synergy between the driver and car is going to be higher an Arrows designed car than it is in the Jordan garage. Rosset has obviously improved in the off-season, either that or his car has. I'm slightly concerned about the Williams here. Eddie Irvine sticks his Williams on 14th. That's a massive drop-off. That is just a huge drop-off from where they were in the closing stages of last season. This really could be anyone's session, to be honest. It could be anyone's session. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. Tire temperatures are good for Deniz, but not great for Shinji. 26 degrees and cloudy. I don't know if it could actually end up raining on us. It's very hard to say. We've got a little bit of rubber down on the racing line, but nothing to get too excited about. 39 minutes of the session remain. I think the Jordan should be coming round now, or the first Jordan, I think that's a Lacey, should be coming round now to make up his first fast lap. And he sticks it on 6th, so it's Alexander Wirtz sticks it 6th for the Jordan team. And Rosset has done his second fast lap before his teammates even got round. See where the second Prost crosses the line. Marini outqualifies Mika Hakkinen initially at least, sticking it on 10th. No improvement for the Tyrrells, who seem to be this season's backmarkers fairly convincingly. Coulthard's coming around again. I don't know if he's had a fast lap or if this is that was his in lap, so no improvement from Coulthard on his last run. As Hakkinen comes out again, obviously keen not to be outshone by Marini again. Let's take a look at track conditions again. Yeah, nothing interesting. Excuse me. I live on a crossroads, so we get a lot of emergency vehicles passing through, which ruin my videos. That's always fun. Total are getting all their laps in very, very early, which is particularly interesting. I guess they feel they've got nothing to lose. No improvement for Montoya, it seems. The track is quiet, and the tyres for Deniz are in the right window. And Minardi's just pulled out now. I'm going to stick a fresh set of softs on for Deniz, and I'm going to get him out. Both Minardis are now out on track. If the tyre temperatures are as favourable as they seem, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen doesn't catch us and damage the lap, then Deniz's car is technically in a good operating window and will leave his last run for when the most rubber is down on the racing line. Nakano, I'm willing to stay his hand a little bit. I know he's languishing down in 9th, but he is on the slower compound of tyre, and I think he's going to benefit much more from a final run on this first scrubbed set when there's a bit more rubber down. So, surprises so far. The main surprise actually has been the progress shown by Stewart. It seems the Minardis sort of gave a false impression of how strong they were because they qualified so early, but the real surprise here has been Rossett in the Stewart. A 1:32.255 is a decent time. It's within a second of pole, which is certainly a huge step forward for them. They're running the Mercedes engine this year, which is incredibly powerful, but it's not otherwise a strong engine. We've got Deniz catching the back of Wurtz's Jordan. Please don't interfere with his lap. Please don't interfere with his lap. 31 minutes of the session remain. What do I want to see from him? Another 10th would be good. I don't expect him to stick it on pole, but if we can pip Damon Hill's Benetton, I'd consider that to be a victory, to be honest, given the car's in questionable condition. And he does. We command and he responds, although it's a momentary peak of glory because Rubens Barrichello and Frentzen take the front row of the grid so far. Although the difference between Deniz and Barrichello is so tight. That is unfortunate. It was a brief, glorious moment, but we are within striking distance of pole with Deniz. Very, very much so. Less than a 10th in it, and not even the greater portion of a 10th in it at this point. Let's take a look if the track's improving. It is not. Okay, so your top 10 as it stands at the moment. Heinz-Harald Frentzen leads in the Ferrari Ford, 1:31.528. Second is teammate Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari Ford, 1 minute 31 seconds 5:44. Pedro Diniz, Arrows Ferrari, takes third, 1:31.572. Johnny Newhouse in the McLaren Mercedes, back on Mercedes power there, takes fourth on a 1:31.758. In front of Damon Hill's Benetton Mercedes. David Coulthard takes sixth in the McLaren Mercedes. The Jordan Ferrari of Alexander Wurz sits seventh. The Stewart Mercedes of Ricardo Rossi is in 8th. Esteban Tuero, Benetton Mercedes, takes 9th. And the 10th place is taken by our very own Shinji Nakano, Arrows Ferrari, on a 1:32.641. The track's getting a bit busier, which is what we want. We want them to start sticking down a bit of rubber. I've got a feeling the weather could change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick Shinji out. Let's wait for these cars to pass by. Benetton's just gone out. Let's give it a second and go. That's 25 minutes of the session remaining. We're going to, assuming the weather doesn't break, we are going to put them out again sort of as late in the session as we can. We need to keep our eyes open for a clean run window. Of course, it's always a problem when someone comes out of the pits in front of you when you're about to start your qualification lap. There's nothing we can really do to preempt that, but we can sort of look for a clean time to release them onto the track to begin with. I would I would hope that Nakano can reclaim his position in the top 10 as Andrea Montemini puts it on 8th, beating his teammate Riccardo Rossi in the Stewart. I think most, if not all, cars have now done a lap. It seems that way. So the biggest gainer this season does seem to be Minardi after all, while the biggest losers are clearly Williams and Sauber. It's really hard to tell who's giving the objective performance of our car, whether it's Deniz or Nakano. Maybe Deniz has just had an excellent lap in the right conditions. It does seem Ferrari are king of the hill. The real battle, I suppose, is between McLaren and Benetton. We don't really know yet how we fit into that particular battle. This lap from Nakano should give us some indication. I think the Ferraris must almost be done with their laps, so there's a chance, a snippet of a chance, that maybe we could see Deniz snatch pole away. I would certainly hope it's a possibility. Nakano coming round to finish his qualification run. He does improve, but not enough to jump the Benetton of Esteban Tuero. Clearly, he's not a fan of this year's car. That's going to hit his morale later in the season as well. That's not going to be good news for us, I suspect. It could also be that being on the hard compound is punishing him, but it's punishing him by, as near as makes no difference, a full second against his teammate, which is enough to divide them very, very significantly. I really don't know how we could address that. I mean, we could shift them both to the soft compound, but I think there's a chance that this season's car has a similar characteristic to last season's, because you do tend to see some sort of continuity there, and that we should find our race pace to be above our qualification pace. If you remember last season, we were qualifying sort of 9th and 10th, but finishing races on the podium. Maybe that hard tyre kind of pays for itself eventually. Certainly, I think he should be able to be snatching at the coveted 6th position anyway, and all the points count. Early indications are, though, that Deniz is going to be the man of the hour. Still not much evolution on the track front. I'm just the pictures of the track seem to be indicating that the weather is shifting towards rain, and that's what I'm concerned about. I really don't want to get caught out by rain here when we've got a chance to strike at pole. I think that's Ferrari I just saw coming out of the garage. That must be their last qualifying run. We've got 3 blocks of rubber down on the racing line. I think we're going to hold on for 4. We're going to give Deniz the preferential run. There's 10 cars out right now anyway. The track is quite crowded. I'm really hoping that the Williams and the Ferraris in particular get their laps down and out of the way. I'm sure that both their cars out on track now are actually on their final runs of the session. 15 minutes now remaining. Tell you what, let's make sure the cars are set up appropriately. So I'm going to stick him on a fresh set of tyres with the lightest fuel load possible. He's not experiencing any technical problems, so that's good. And Deniz is going to go out on a scrubbed set of the soft tyre. Let's take a look again at the standings. Frentzen still sits on pole. Barrichello second. There's been no real shift here, except Andrea Montemini has improved and he's leapfrogged Jordan of Alexander Wurz. So Stewart have definitely taken a noticeable step forward. Esteban Tuero is not synergising with this Benetton particularly well. whereas Damon Hill seems to be matching Eddie Irvine's qualification performance in that seat. 13 minutes remain of the session. I really don't know what we should do here. The tyres are in a good window for Shinji. That Prost better not interfere. I'm going to get him to push on his outlap to try and get that last unit of temperature in. 12 minutes of the session still to run. I think once we hit the 10-minute mark, I'm going to put Deniz out for his final run and hope against hope, because his tyres are cooling the entire time we're sitting in there in the pits. And I'm not sure if we're running enough downforce to get the heat back to where we want it. Yeah, so far Shinji hasn't got his tyres to the optimal working window. Let's take a look. Track conditions unchanged as Nakano starts his final qualification run of the session. The track is empty though. The track is empty. 10 minutes remain. Yeah, I'm gonna hold. I'm gonna try and be brave. I'm gonna hold because Deniz could get pole. The weather has changed. The sun's come out a little bit more. So the cloud is breaking. That means we're unlikely to see rain as the Benettons go out for their final run. Yeah, everyone's coming out now. 9 minutes. Let's see where this lap puts Nakano. He stays 12th, so that's a bad qualification session for him. 8 minutes. No improvement at the front end of the grid though, as we put Deniz out for his final run. Very disappointed in Nakano's 12th position. I don't think it's particularly encouraging. Hopefully Deniz's lap was not a fluke. He needs the tiniest of improvements here to take a front row position. I'd like to believe he's got it in him, and he's certainly been performing at a level that would incline me towards keeping him in the future, because if he's performing at the level that we need and he brings a whole bunch of cash, then why would we pay for a driver that might not synergize with the team and car quite so well? He is unhappy though, which means he's probably unlikely to actually stay with us anyway. Once Nakano's back in, I'm just gonna... Yeah, there's no problem with his car, so I don't know what's causing this. Hopefully he can regain some time through missing a pit stop. Okay, so good news is that Deniz's final lap is not going to be impeded. Heinz Frentzen crosses the line, no improvement. So it really is all to play for now. 5 minutes of the session remaining. Still propping up the grid are the Tyrrells, the Saubers, the Williams and the Minardis, and the Prosts are running 2 for 2 between 22nd and 13th position. Nakano is the worst of the rest. I really can't account for such a massive differential in performance, but I think Deniz should be capable of making some kind of improvement here. Hopefully it's enough. The Williams will certainly be disappointed with their performance. Here we go, cross the line. No improvement. No improvement. So I guess the track conditions were not favourable for us. Third position though is an excellent position to find ourselves in. Certainly he's 2/10 clear of the McLarens. I mean, to out-qualify Johnny Newhouse and Damon Hill that convincingly, I think I think that's a reasonable indication that the car's not in perhaps as bad a place as we first thought, although it certainly isn't friendly towards Nakano's driving style. I don't believe the tyres can account for the entire performance differential. I'm repeating myself from earlier, I know, but it just doesn't strike me as possible. I guess the next round we will try them both on the soft compound tyre, but results are not encouraging. I'm not happy with that 12th position from Nakano. If that performance stays consistent throughout the year, then we have to seriously consider dropping him in favour of another driver. Maybe we bring back John Fellows, maybe we take on Jarno Trulli out of that test seat. I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, Rubens Barrichello has improved to take pole at the last minute, although by the narrowest of margins possible. We are there or thereabouts, I think that's fair to say, and I'm guessing that improved time was a result of him doing a longer run and presumably benefiting from extra rubber down on the track surface. There's no one left actually qualifying, I think, and everyone is within the 107% time window, so we have no non-qualification, which is encouraging. The field is much more... It's divided into two distinct groups, but those groups are very, very closely matched. The checkered flag drops, and I thank you for joining me for another season opener qualification session. I'm going to encode this video now, but in summation, the Ferraris lock out the front row, Barrichello leading Frentzen, Denis takes third for us, Johnny Newhouse on the McLaren takes fourth, ahead of Damon Hill's Benetton Mercedes in fifth, Jean Alesi takes sixth for Jordan, seventh goes to David Coulthard in the McLaren, a fantastic eighth for Andrea Montemini in the Stewart, ninth goes to Alexander Wurz in the Jordan, and the 10th goes to Esteban Tuero's Benetton. Thanks again for joining me. I'll see you for the race. Take care.